Elon Musk was born in Pretoria, Africa. His first big achievement was a video game called Blaster at 12 years old. He moved to Canada at 17 for 2 years, then to the US. At 24, he dropped out of college to found Zip2, a searchable directory of businesses tied to a map. After that, he founded X.com, an online bank, which later merged with a competitor into PayPal. He is now most known for funding space exploration technologies, or SpaceX, and taking over Tesla Motors, now Tesla, as CEO, as well as co-founding Neuralink and OpenAI. This is episode 1 of the Intellectual Work podcast about the work habits of Elon Musk. Most of the information I taken from Ashley Vance's book Elon Musk, Tesla, SpaceX, and the Quest for a Fantastic Future. And I gotta say, after skimming through it, after like a couple of years, after reading it, I really got into it. It's really probably one of the best books I've read. So he starts this book with describing his first meeting with Elon Musk, and the first thing he notes is that Elon is really fast, and that's, of course, there's a part of it that he just doesn't have time, but that got me thinking that maybe there is something more to it also, because there is this military habit that people always walk fast. Of course, again, they always have to have somewhere to be, but I think there might be more to it. I think it also gives you this aggressive edge. It makes you really go in there with the intention of just crushing it. And I think that's, of course, maybe that doesn't have such a huge impact, but I believe there is some benefit to just doing all the chores basically really fast. And from my own experience, I know that when I take a break intentionally and then go to the bathroom during that break, it's very different from when I'm just working really hard and then I just quickly go to the bathroom and then come back as quickly as possible. It's very different, and in the second case, my mind is always still on the task, so it's like it's almost as if I didn't take any break. Whereas taking a break, of course, takes your mind off the task, and then your mind has to come back to the task, and there's a bit of a momentum in it. It takes a while to get back to the task. So that's one thing. He also, the author also notes that Elon always takes full control over everything. In this example, it's the biography, of course. He's very hands-on. And there's this quote from his Zip2 days. Actually, this is about his Zip2 days. So Elon says, "Yeah, we had some very good software engineers at Zip2, but I mean, I could code way better than them. And I just go in and fix their fucking code. I would be frustrated waiting for the stuff, so I'm going to go and fix your code, and now it runs 5 times faster, you idiot." And of course, that's bad leadership, and he admits that. Of course, this is his. It's something of a self-mockery, but still, even today, I think there is there's still he's still hands-on. I think in the biography, even at the end, near when this biography was released, the authors still said that Elon was hands-on, and that I don't know if that's really a good thing, because if you know Jocko Willing, he's a podcast, Jocko Podcast, and well, that's not that important, but he has a book called Extreme Ownership, and in it there is a rule called lead from the back, and it basically comes down to not micromanaging your people, and that's exactly what Elon does. He micromanages everything. He takes this code, someone else's code, and just goes in and fixes it, and changes it. Actually, there probably wasn't that big of a change after he fixed it. It wasn't probably that much better, and it ruined the relationship. So of course that particular example is a bad example of what to do. But still, even now, probably he goes deeply into what his subordinates are doing. He goes deeply into the process, and maybe I believe that could be just because he's just smart. He's a very smart guy, so he can't do that and still have a sort of perspective. So anyway, I believe that isn't really a good thing. Not something to follow, really. The author also acknowledges that Elon is very, very optimistic about the future, which I believe that leads to progress. I think it's just more productive to be optimistic. I don't think that that it doesn't matter whether you're optimistic or pessimistic. I think the optimists win, and the optimist with the same set of skills will always be better than the pessimist, because I believe this is like that reward always gives better motivation than punishment. So I believe this is linked in some way, this is connected, and yeah, probably I believe being an optimist is always a good thing. Just a more productive approach. So he also has one very specific goal. Well, actually, maybe a couple of specific goals, but still, there is a number of them, a finite number, like probably 3. One of them is something related to Neuralink and OpenAI. The other one is related to Tesla. And of course, the last one is putting men on Mars, which is related to SpaceX. And those are very specific goals, and he has 3 of them, right? He doesn't just have a general amount, like this is important, but this is also important, and this is kind of important. No, he has 3, and the 3 that he cares about, and nothing else matters. So this is, he has for a very long time had this goal, and in my opinion that gives you leverage. Like, you need time to do something greater. The longer time you give yourself, the more you can accomplish. So when people are doing things that, have short-term goals, they accomplish this goal, and then they move to another goal, which is probably somewhat related, but still it's not the same as having just one goal and all your other short-term goal should lead to that specific goal, or having three, and then all your choices should lead to one of those three. So yeah, I believe that's important to have a limited number of goals, specific goals that you can do, not like making the world a better place or something. That's too general, and it's like, what can you do to do that, to accomplish that goal? Well, you can give to charity, but some charities are scam, and you can take some actions, but you're never really going to accomplish that. So, of course, specific, smart goals, basically. Specific, measurable, achievable, I think was A. And then R was something, and then T is time-bound. They don't exactly have to be time-bound in the sense that you should do them before you die, or at least have such an impact on society, I guess, that people after you will continue that goal, and eventually that goal will be reached. And of course, you should accelerate that goal, but you should think more of it. You should think about it more in the sense of, if you don't do it, if you don't specifically, intentionally motivate people to achieve that goal, then they never will. Of course, they might, but you want to be 100% sure. So now let's take a break to talk about his schedule. So on Monday he talks about SpaceX. On Tuesday on Monday he works at SpaceX. On Tuesday SpaceX, then goes to work for Tesla. On Tesla. On Wednesday Tesla, and then Thursday Tesla, then SpaceX, and Friday SpaceX, and then on Saturday he sometimes has a conference, sometimes he just goes to work, and sometimes he goes hiking, so he actually does have some free time. And on Sunday it's usually family and obligations. So that of course he wouldn't go between SpaceX and Tesla every day. That's wasting time. But there is, if he could, I believe he still would spend, if it took like 2 hours to go between SpaceX and Tesla, I believe he would still spend like 2 days at SpaceX, then 2 days at Tesla, and 2 days at SpaceX. because there isn't much switching tasks. There might be some goal that is more long term, but he can actually get that done in 2 days. But he wouldn't be able to get that done in half a day, of course. So yeah, 2 days is a pretty good period to get something done. It's like, if it takes longer than 2 days, then okay, you can do 2 days and then have a 2-day break and then go back for another 2 days. But if it's less, then there are too many tasks that you just, when you 2 days doing the same thing for 2 days, or 1 day, and then you go back the next day to do it, everything is fresh. It's just, if you've read Cal Newport's Deep Work, you probably know already that the longer, well, maybe not the longer, but it takes some time to fully focus on one specific task, and then doing related things. That's everything that you've done is still fresh in your mind. So you just in it 100%, and you can keep that up for 2 days, and then probably you need to switch to something else. So yeah, I don't know if this is a drastic change from SpaceX to Tesla. I don't know if this counts as a sort of vacation, in a sense that he's doing SpaceX and then he rests from doing SpaceX by doing Tesla. That probably isn't the case, but I believe there is some aspect of it that he works for SpaceX, or actually there might not be. It might just be that he needs to just go to Tesla to get urgent things done, but he doesn't want to make that period any shorter than 2 days. So also, as far as decompression goes, he works hard but plays hard. Also, he works hard but plays harder. Well, okay. He probably works harder than he plays, but he also plays hard. And that's, I think, for most people, that's counterintuitive. Because he doesn't just... It's not playing hard, or I don't know how to say. Yeah, I think that's like this. What's the saying? Work when you work and play when you play. So he doesn't take that in the sense of I'm going to work super hard on this thing for 5 days, and then 2 days I'm going to not do anything for the entire weekend. I believe that's not the right approach. I don't believe you need to do that, and I believe it might hurt your mindset in a sense, because there is this momentum, like you going hard at it for 5 days, and then you relax and not do anything, and then when you come back you need to get back into this mindset. But I don't think that is needed. I don't think that relaxation is really needed, because I believe it's just the matter of switching tasks. I believe if you work intellectually for 5 days really hard, and your brain starts to really hurt, and you just feel like not doing anything, then actually probably a hard workout will be better. Well, maybe, okay, that's too much, but like that's too short of a period. But a 2-day bike trip would be much better than just 2 days of not doing anything, because you're still in that mindset that, okay, I've worked really hard with my brain for 5 days, and now I have this time to not work with my brain, but I have to keep working hard to keep that momentum of just getting after it all the time, and I have to work really hard with my body for 2 days, and then I can go back and again work with my mind for 5 days really hard. So I also believe that you shouldn't just take free time as in just not doing anything. I think if you want to take some time off, you should plan something, like going somewhere, or even like playing a video game for one whole day almost, and then the next day you're watching movies for the whole day. I believe that's still better than just not having a plan and doing whatever is easiest. So that's it for this introductory part of the book. Now we get into his childhood, and he read a lot of comics as a boy. I don't know if that really shaped him into who he is now and how he works, and it didn't develop his work ethic. Well, actually, it might have, in the same way as reading books, which I believe might be better, but also I don't really read comics, so maybe I just don't know comics. Maybe reading comics is fine, but a better bet would probably be still books. Books are very important, reading books, because it's a long time when you have to focus pretty intensely on one specific task. And that's a theme that is present in many biographies of those very successful people. Even Elon had this trance-like state where he would just focus on one thing and block out everything outside of this task. All the external stimuli. And then kids would come up and beat him for it. But yeah, I think that comes up a lot when reading biographies of successful people. Something like that. It also comes up with Bill Gates, who I believe with his wife was doing jigsaw puzzles, and then he kept at it until he was done. He wouldn't eat, he wouldn't sleep, he would just keep trying to solve it until he was done. And yeah, again, with Cal Newport's deep work, Elon Musk doesn't do that probably anymore. Like, maybe even not at all. But it's still because he's just busy and there are more urgent things that are also more shallow than this trance-like state that he needs to take care of. But he probably also has those moments where he really needs to figure something out, and he just again blocks out the entire outside world and focuses on this simple task. And probably now it's like more like 30 minutes instead of a couple of hours. But it might be that he just got really good in getting into that state. So now he can just go in and out, and he can just go into that state for 30 minutes and then out, and he's done. But I believe this is still, even if it's not that needed for him now, then I believe still it's in a way a good exercise for the mind. Now, of course, what does it mean? I don't know, but it probably works. Cal Newport in his book also describes memorizing cards as also this kind of exercise, and he, well, maybe not swears by it, but he recommends it as an exercise. And it might not immediately transfer into your work, but I believe over time, for some reason, and I don't know why, but it trains the mind in some way, I think. So also reading, he read a lot of sci-fi books, and that, I believe, might be even more important than working the mind. Just this working the mind really probably more helps with reading books than actually transferring into your work. But books, of course, can be read much faster than a podcast like this could be listened to. So, of course, there's more information and you can just do it quicker. In a way, the same information you can take in quicker. So that's why books are probably the best medium of attaining information of any sort, even if it's just a story. But sci-fi, why it's important? Because it's motivation. And of course, there is a lot of people will say that motivation doesn't matter. It's really discipline that's important. But I don't believe it's true, because, of course, they're saying that discipline doesn't matter. It's fleeting, and then you should and that you should focus on getting disciplined is also a sort of motivational quote. It's just that it's not actually good advice, I believe. And I think that, of course, discipline is needed, but if you're doing what you have to do, but you're not perhaps winning at it 100%, then I believe you don't lack discipline, you lack motivation. And actually, people don't have a problem with concepts like pride or something, or just being proud of your achievements and being invested in what you are doing, following your passion, whatever that means. Of course, startups will tell you that they want people who are passionate about what they're doing, and no one has a problem with that, apparently. But motivation is shunned upon, and I don't think that's a good approach. I think motivation, of course, if you just take motivation as seeing a motivational picture and then going out running, and then you come back and then you never go out running again, of course that's not good motivation. But or if it's just like you want to start writing, and then one day you wake up and you feel like writing, so you write and then never come back to it. That's of course not what I am talking about. But that's very, very shallow. I believe that's almost no motivation. That's motivation for a very short period of time. And I don't believe it's very strong. I believe it's just that those videos and images, motivational images and videos, are just weak, and that's a weak form of motivation. However, if you are already working on something, if you are a student, you study at a university, say physics, and you're already doing it, then motivation, if you're really applying yourself, then motivation can only help you, and it can help you in a big way if you cultivate it. I don't mean just looking at videos and motivational images and that's it, and then working hard for a day and then going back to normal. I mean, watching videos is okay as long as you realize that you're playing the long game. For example, one channel that I really like is Real Engineering, and that is very good at building motivation. You remember how cool actually what you're doing is. And sci-fi books also work the same way, and they also make you think a little more about the future, which also is motivation for your work. You want the future to be better, not worse. So I believe that cultivating your motivation, playing the long game, also morale is something that people don't have a problem with. And motivation is, of course, a big part of morale. So I believe that cultivating your motivation every day, either reading something or watching YouTube videos, but not the motivational kind that is shallow, that makes you want to go work on something and that's it. Actually, just if it just makes you want to work on something, that's bad, because you want it to motivate you to achieve a certain goal, and then you work on achieving that goal, and you want that motivation to be a reminder why you want to accomplish that goal. So that was a bit long about books, but books are pretty cool. Again, with this trance-like state, he got his Commodore, on which he wrote Blaster. Of course, first he had to learn BASIC, which is the programming language for the Commodore. And he says that it was supposed to take like 6 months to get through the lessons. I just got super OCD on it and stayed up for 3 days with no sleep and did the entire thing. And that again is this deep state of long work. I believe you can also do that with just now, like in our times. You don't have to learn BASIC, but you can learn C++ or something that will be useful. Or maybe if you feel like it, then you can learn BASIC. Get a cheap used Commodore or something. You can also just do that now for 3 days with no sleep. That probably wasn't exactly 3 days. It probably was like just over 48 hours. I don't believe really that this took the entire what is it, 72 hours? Yeah, I think that's that's it, 72 hours. I don't believe that it took 72 hours, probably just over 48. But yeah, you can do that, and it's a good exercise, I believe. Taking one specific task and accomplishing it in a rather short amount of time, just not taking any breaks, basically. Probably also not showering or anything. Also, leaving time for something is good. Just leaving time for something to finish, just in case. Like if you expect to finish something in 2 hours, then you might want to give yourself another 2 hours, just in case you don't finish that, and you need more time to not stop. And then also you have to have another task that you can do if you actually do manage to complete that task in time. So yeah, that's basically his early childhood. Later he got to college, and then there he met people who were more like him. One particular thing that he could also do then is talk with his friends about physics. And that seems like the most nerdy thing that you could do, but it's actually pretty smart. I believe that that's also keeping up this motivation. That everything you do, is related to physics, and then you do different things, but it's always to get better at physics, or it's just physics related. It's just you really buy into this persona of someone who is really into physics, and then you will feel like you are more of this person, so you're going to do even more to be that person in a way, if that makes sense. He also talked with his brother Kimball when they were taking car trips. They were talking just daydreaming, talking about the future and the dreams of the .com era. That's also, in my opinion, a very good way to keep up that motivation, and it's also a way to think about the future in a more diffuse way, not focused, and share opinions. And it's just, I think that's really something that it's really useful, I believe. And it, of course, allows you to relax while still making progress towards whatever your goal is, getting better at whatever you're working on. So one thing that this is probably the most important thing that Elon Musk does for his productivity, and he just works hard. And this whole idea of this podcast is basically how to get yourself to work harder, and that's not as simple as just doing more hours, but it still comes down mostly to more hours. But intensity is also important, but it's not that important, I believe. It works 120 plus hours a week, so I believe that's every day, so not counting the weekends. I mean, he doesn't take weekends, he doesn't take breaks during the weekend. That's 17 hours a day, every day. Because if it was just Monday through Friday, then it would be 24 hours. He also doesn't sleep a lot, and that's actually something that many successful people do, and I'm not sure if this is such a good thing. Many would argue that this is bad for you, but I believe that this isn't that bad. That there are more important things than just that. You can get a good sleep and not lose the benefits of sleep, not start to lose concentration or something when you're sleeping less than probably most would say is right for an average human. But I believe, I don't know if I personally need a lot of sleep, so I don't really know how you could reduce that amount. But if you can, then if you don't sleep a lot, then I don't believe you should really try so hard to get to sleep longer. Of course, quality of sleep matters. I believe quality is more important if you feel okay that your sleeping schedule is okay, that you can survive on it. I guess you should first, if you're sleeping less than recommended, then I believe you should first make sure that the quality of your sleep is the best. And then if you feel like if the quality of your sleep is basically the best that it can be, and you feel okay, then I don't believe you should really try to increase the time that you sleep. And again, with this idea of always keeping that momentum of getting after it and doing everything that you can to win. He was on a bike trip with other Zip2 employees, and he climbed to the top even though he wasn't in a condition to do so. That's just, again, it was supposed to be relaxation, but he did everything to win. And yeah, that's just an example. And also another example is they had in, I believe it was Zip2 still, they had Quake tournaments and they always won, and I wonder why. He also another thing that the author talks about is that Elon might not spend that much money, might try to squeeze, just not spend the least amount of money or on like things that are related directly to making rockets or something. But he always makes sure that the environment that they're in is in pristine condition. And that's, I believe, that you want to keep your workspace neat and heavily work oriented, so that when you go there, you know that you're at work, and that you should live up to the expectation that this place seems to have on how hard you're going to work. In a way, of course, you've heard about making your room. That's the same idea. About making your bed and cleaning your room. But I think you can also take that further. Just making sure that always improving your workspace, and also dividing your workspace into the living area, dividing your room perhaps, or just having two different rooms, like your office and your bedroom, splitting that area. I believe that can have profound effects. Something that he talks about also is that he gets his best ideas while showering, and that's a good way, of course, to get ideas. As long as you're working hard, don't force it. Don't, when you want new ideas, don't just go to the shower. Just, it must come naturally, in a sense. You must first have to work in this really focused mode. And then if you take a shower, an idea might pop into your mind, but don't try to force it. First, make sure that you're doing everything in this focus mode, that you're just working really hard. And you don't have to, well, you don't have to shower. In a way, you don't have to. That's not the only way to work in this diffuse mode of thinking. You can also walk, and that's actually many people who do a lot of intellectual work as their sport prefer something like jogging. They don't really do a lot of sports that require focused thinking. Jogging is probably the most popular among those who work with the mind. But also, just walking is good. It's probably better than running in this sense. Something that for me is controversial is what he calls batching, and I believe only he uses that term for it because it's just multitasking. For example, he answers emails while eating or having a meeting over lunch. He says, what I find is I'm able to be with my kids and still be on email. I can be with them and still be working at the same time. If I didn't, I wouldn't be able to get my job done. And I think that's the thing. He just has to work, but he also can be with their kids, and that's less than optimal, probably, but that's the best that he can do. He just has to get this work done. And I really don't believe in multitasking. I always try to only do one thing at a time. I try to never multitask as little as possible. Another example is going through emails and invoices while on phone meetings and interviews. That's probably a little rude. I wouldn't do that probably. But this is, I believe, something that just works for him because of the position that he's in. I don't think you should strive to do that. I think as little multitasking as possible is better. And something interesting also, all SpaceX employees must write an essay on why they want to work there. And this is, of course, it's important for him to understand why they want to work there. And it also helps in the interview process because he knows, okay, this person doesn't really fit here. And yeah, it just helps eliminating those who don't have the right reasons to work there, but he might not think of some reason why his best employees might want to work there. Well, just, he might not think of some reason, but then when he looks at what someone wrote, he might think that's yeah, that's a good idea, that this person will get their work done. But it's also important for you as an interviewee because you need to know why. It cannot be understated how much of an impact knowing why you're doing something has on how well you perform. And it doesn't really seem like it has that much of an impact, because it just seems like you're having a good day and then you just have more of those good days. But in fact, the amount of good days that you have compared to if you didn't have a clear reason why you are doing this, is just, it speaks for itself. So yeah, I believe even if your interviewer doesn't require you to write an essay, then you should still do it. Just know why you want to work there and go there with a clear goal in mind. And also something that Elon does is he learns from his employees when talking about something. If there is something that Elon doesn't understand, then he just asks. And that's a good advice just in school or university or college, whatever. It's an opportunity to learn. So yeah, maybe it's obvious in college, but outside of college, it's not that obvious. But if you get the opportunity to learn something from someone, then it's a good opportunity. You already have a reason why you want to learn that, because you're talking about this subject. So yeah, I believe that's a really, really nice way to learn, and it builds up the conversation. So that was Elon Musk. A lot of lessons here. Some of them are controversial in a way. Again, this is just, not everything that he does got him where he is. Some of the things that he does are just the consequence of the situation that he's in. So with that, thank you for listening.